Hey, it's Corrine, and today I wanted to share some of the adhesives that I use. Every time I do a video, I get a lot of questions about why I use so many different adhesives in my video, and I have recently gotten several requests to do a video on which adhesives I use and why. So by no means am I an expert, but over the years I've just kind of found different ones that I like for different reasons. So I thought I would just go over those. First, I use the ATG gun. This is a great adhesive. It's very strong. Pretty much once you lay something down, you're not going to get it back up with this. But this is my favorite adhesive. You can buy the replacement rolls either at Michael's or, excuse me, either at Michael's or online places. I have been ordering in the past from framingsupplies.com. My sister and I usually get a big bulk package and go in on it together, so we usually get a pretty good deal, but from what I understand their prices were just increased, so I don't know, I'll probably have to shop around because I'm down to just a few rolls left. But this I pretty much would use all the time because it is strong. You get a lot. They usually, I think we end up paying about, I can't remember, about $3.25 a roll or $3.29, something around there. But they do last quite a while. The reason I don't use this all the time is because it is expensive. When I find myself down to one roll, I tend to use it less and less. But what I have found recently is at my dollar store, I have found double-sided tape. Actually $1.29, and this is actually really strong adhesive. I would say it compares to ATG or score tape, probably more like score tape, a little bit stronger than ATG. So I really love this. My dollar store just closed, so I'm gonna have to search and find where they sell it somewhere else. This, like I said, is comparable to score tape. It comes in, let's see here, I have some open rolls. It comes in 3 different sizes, at least my dollar store did. So, but this I use when I make an album. That's why I have this album here to show. When I make an album, I go through at least 1 roll per album because I like my stuff to stay. I don't want the recipient ever to have an issue with something coming up. And I tend to use, I probably go a little overboard on tape, but it makes me more comfortable giving it to somebody knowing that it won't fall apart. I use it from corner to corner on my photos. You can use wet glues on your photos. ATG works great on photos as well, but I use it all around on photos. So you probably see me using this mostly, even though it's a little more pain in the butt than ATG because you have to take the backing off. It's really strong adhesive and it's a great price. Again, that's same with score tape, comes in all different sizes. You can order it online. It's a little bit more expensive, but pretty much anything you use it on, it won't come off. I wouldn't use score tape just for pictures. I use it partially on binding of my albums because I know that it won't go anywhere. That brings me to E6000. This, if you have not tried this glue, you can get this pretty much anywhere. I got this from Walmart. It was about $3, maybe it was $4 for the large, and it stinks. You want to use it in a ventilated area. Matter of fact, there's several warnings on here even about it, so be careful when you use this. You want to wash your hands right away if you get it on your hands. But by request, my nephew asked me to bling him out a ping pong paddle so he could take to college with him, and I used the E6000 and he plays ping pong with it and it's been fine. The only thing it does do is if you use clear rhinestones, it'll give them a crackled effect, but this stuff, my husband uses it, you know, for projects, things like that, but I use it on anything like this frame. I used E6000, and the reason you'll see me use E6000 and hot glue is because the E6000 probably needs a good 24 hours to fully dry, probably 12 hours. You know, it's pretty much dry. So I use E6000, but I also add hot glue to it as well so it sticks immediately. The hot glue I wouldn't trust over, you know, a year's time for something like this. So any type of metal embellishment, I even put a dab under all my flowers on the outside of an album just so I know. Like I said, I may go a little overboard, but I prefer it never to fall apart. Even on the trim, I used hot glue to put this down, but I put a dab of E6000 at the top and at the bottom. Again, just to make sure it's not going anywhere. You wouldn't want to use E6000 for pictures or even paper. You can, but it's a clear adhesive, but you really want to limit your use to it because it does stink so bad. But it'll hold any type of metal keys, coins, anything like that. You can trust that. E6000 jewelry as well, it's great for. Pop dots. I prefer the Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. You can also use this. I got this huge roll. This was probably double the size from Walmart. This is great because it's not too thick. And this holds well. As much as I can, though, I like using packaging cardboard for pop dots. If it's something large, if I'm gluing something large on, instead of having pop dots everywhere, I'd like a piece of cardboard that fits along the back, just so it's even all the way around. But as far as pop dots, I've used all different kinds. These are the Recollections brand. They have smaller size and larger size, so pretty much anything's good, but you could use foam. I've seen a lot of people, and actually I have used foam. I had a bunch of foam left over from a project, so I added it under things with some hot glue and it worked great. Tape runners, I've had this for years, and the only reason I still have it is because I had bought so many replacements when it was on sale. I don't like this because right up in here it gets so gummed up that the roller starts not working, and I just don't feel like you get your money's worth with these. But you know, again, this is just what I have found. Then if I am doing real small lettering on something, this is great to use. This is the Zig 2-way. Let me turn it the right way. And the reason they call it two-way glue is because it's either repositionable or it's permanent. If you put the glue on and stick it down right away, it's going to be permanent. If you put the glue down and let it sit for a minute and then stick it down, you're able to move it around. But the reason I like it is because it's a ballpoint pen on the end, and then you just squeeze this to give it a little more glue. So I really like this. You can get a lot of precision with this. This is the same thing, it's just the Martha Stewart, and I love the Martha Stewart one as well. It just depends on what's on sale or what I'm in the mood for that day, but this is the wide tip, so you can get a lot of coverage with that. Then, as far as wet adhesives go, I use either Scotch Quick Dry or Tombow Multi. The Scotch Quick Dry, it's photo safe, it's acid free. Same with the Tombow Multi, I believe. Both of them are great wet glues. You can use them for pretty much anything. I prefer this one, however, the tip is, although it's rather small, it produces a lot of glue, so you can't control it as well as the Tombow. The Tombow, you can get such a fine application, and I don't know if you can see how gross this bottle is. That's the only downfall with this glue. Well, first of all, it has that small tip, and then it also has a larger tip to cover more areas. So I like that about it, but it's sticky. Like, it gets all over the bottle, it gets all over your hands. It doesn't just rub off. You have to go and wash your hands, but it dries almost instantly, and you can always find this on sale pretty much at Joann's, Michael's. So I do like this, and a ton of online places. The Scotch Quick Dry, you get a big bottle for, you know, I always use a coupon on this, so I get it for about $3-4 with the coupon. This I like because if it gets on your hands, you can just kind of roll it off and it'll come off like Elmer's glue. And it does dry pretty quick. And if you're using it under paper, which you can, I tend not to, just because it, you know, it can make such a mess. I like that's what I use the double-sided tape for personally. But it doesn't leave those bubbles as in other white glues would leave. It's pretty much smooth if you're, you know, careful with how you use it. So this is a great, if you're going to get one wet glue, I would suggest this one. I really like this one. I like personally having both, just because this is such a fine tip. This one, not so much. Glossy Accents is a great glue. I try not to use it for glue because I try and keep it for, you know, making epoxy type stickers or adding it into frames or whatever. But sometimes I'll use it if I have it out. The other day I was gluing a die cut on top of a photo, so I went for the Glossy Accents. I wouldn't have used the white glue. It doesn't seem to stick very well. So Glossy Accents also will, if I used it strictly for this frame on the album, it would hold it. I wouldn't trust it as much as E6000, but this is a great glue. You could use it for pretty much everything. You could use it for paper. So if I have it out and I'm gluing stuff, I'll use this because I really trust it, but I tend not to use this as, I try to save it for what it's for, you know, the glossy. My ATG gun, this I plug in every time I walk in my room. I use this for everything. I trust it with flowers. On the outside of an album, like I said, I will tend to use just a dab of E6000 and then the hot glue in order to get it to stick instantly. I used it for the ribbon on the side of the album along with E6000. I don't use it on paper because it dries pretty much instantly and it would leave bubbles. I have used it before on albums where I'm going for that distressed look and it's real thick paper and I'm gluing it straight to cardboard. I will use the glue gun. What else? Pretty much anything that I want immediate, for it to stick immediately, I'll use. Or anything with cardboard, I'll use because I know it'll last. But I've used it also to make envelopes and paper on paper. The hot glue works great as well. I had one of those real little cheap, I think I paid $1 or $2 glue guns, and I constantly burned myself with it. I would have blisters on my fingers. So I was a little scared to get the big one. Since I did get this one, which I got at Michael's with a coupon, I can almost touch the glue right as I put it on something. If I go over it, I can pretty much wipe it off. For some reason, even though it has a high and low temp, I always keep it on high. For some reason, it seems to regulate it a little bit better, and it doesn't get as hot. I was asked the other day about glue strings. You do get glue strings, so if you're gluing around a picture, you always want to put, you know, a mask down, an extra piece of a scrap paper or something down, because you will get those strings. But like, and usually I'll have, when I glue a cluster of flowers, excuse me, I will have strings, but when you're done, you just take your heat tool here and go over it, and those strings will dissolve. So to me, it's not an issue. It seems like certain type of glue sticks cause more strings. Right now I'm using the AdTech long ones, and I don't like them. I like the long ones, so I'm not replacing it constantly, but I prefer the Aleen's. I guess maybe just because it goes with the glue gun, it seems to, I don't know, it seems to work better for me, but glue sticks are glue sticks. And lastly, I keep Fabri-Tac, or I guess this one's Fabri-Fix, in my stash. This one I got from Hobby Lobby. It's made by Beacon, and this is a great, this is great for fabric. It works on paper. This is an all-around, but this is not, I would not say this is something you have to have. If you can only get a couple things, I would suggest wet glue, whether it be the Scotch or the multi. I would suggest some sort of double-sided tape, and definitely 6000 for anything heavy that you want to glue down. So I hope this answers why I use so many different glues. For me, these are things that I always have in my stash and pretty much always out and about. So just depending on what I'm making, you'll see me grab for different glues. So I hope that cleared up any questions that anyone had. If not, please feel free to leave me a message and I'll try to answer it. And like I said, I'm not an expert. This is just what I have found that works for me. So I hope it's helpful out there to somebody. So thanks for watching. Bye.